Greetings, YouTube. The Doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons & Dragons. And today on the Doctor Spell Prognosis, we are talking about the spell Planar Binding. We are giving this spell an A. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or a comment. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. All right, so this is a 5th level spell. It is usable by bards, clerics, druids, wizards, Arcana domain clerics. So there are quite a few classes that can use this particular spell. Sorcerers, not in the mix. Warlocks, not in the mix. But the other kind of base classes, arcane or not, are there. Druids are there. Okay, I guess that's for Fae. Wizards are there. I'm going to guess for elementals. Clerics are there for celestials or fiends, I guess. Arcana domain clerics are there possibly for elementals, and bards are there because I guess bards are bards. So, all right, so it's a 5th level spell. It has a casting time of 1 hour, so you will not be casting this spell in combat. It's a range of 60 feet. That's kind of meh. Who cares? It is a verbal, somatic, and material component, and the material component is a 1,000 gold piece gem, which the spell consumes. And that particular material component is going to drive how I cast this spell, because the higher I cast this spell, the more I get for my money. And that's really where this spell comes down to, and why we rate it so high, because we can cast this outside of combat. We can make this last for a really long time, and then it's good for a very, very long time. Now, so with this spell, you attempt to bind a celestial, an elemental, a fiend, or a fae to your service. The creature must be within range for the entire casting the spell. Typically, the creature is first summoned into the center of an inverted magic circle in order to keep it trapped while the spell is cast. So that's I would say the magic circle is useful if you're bringing something forth that you don't control. And magic circle lasts for an hour. So you'd cast magic circle. The second you were done with casting magic circle, you would immediately go into casting planar binding. At the completion of the casting, the target must make a charisma saving throw, which is a great, great stat to target, because most creatures have a very terrible charisma. On a failed save, it's bound to serve you for the duration. If the creature was summoned or created by another spell, that spell's duration is extended to match the duration of the spell. Now, this spell is not concentration, but if you conjure or summon a creature, all of those spells, and I've got a list of them here, all the summon spells are concentration, and all the conjure spells are concentration spells. So the question becomes, because of this last sentence, if the creature was summoned or created by another spell, and again, this spell comes from the basic rules, so a lot of these other spells didn't actually exist, particularly these summon spells. All these summon spells come from another book that came out later. Summon Fae, they all came from Tasha's. Summon Undead they're all from Tasha's just about. Summon Lesser Demon came from Xanthar's. Summon Greater Demon came from Xanthar's. So all of those summon spells came from a different book that came out after the basic rules of the player's handbook came out. So the question is, because of this last sentence, if the creature was summoned or created by another spell, summoning being that spell, the spell's duration is extended to match the duration of the spell. Do you still have to concentrate on it? I'm going to say rules as written, yes, you do have to concentrate on the spell, unfortunately. A bound creature must follow your instructions to the best of its ability. You might command the creature to accompany you on an adventure, to guard a location, or to deliver a message. The creature obeys the letter of your instruction, but if the creature is hostile to you, it strives to twist your words to achieve its own objective. So that could be a neutral elemental, that could be a wily fae, or it could be a fiend that you have summoned and bound. If the creature carries out the instructions completely before the spell ends, it travels to you to report this fact if you are on the same plane of existence. If you are on a different plane, it returns to the place where you bound it and remains there until the spell ends. So this is, again, I'm going to go back to this sentence. The way that I interpret this, rules as written, is that if a creature was summoned by or created by another spell, the spell's duration is extended to match the duration of this spell. So the creature is being bound by this, but the thing that brought the creature into existence is that other spell. Now, if we go to Sage Advice, and I go to Planar, does Planar Binding summon the creature to be bound, or is that done separately? Planar Binding doesn't summon a creature. It attempts to bind that creature, a creature that is within the spell's range. And that is pretty much the only interpretation that we have of this spell from Sage Advice. And Sage Advice is official rulings on things in Dungeons and Dragons. So you can upcast this spell, and when you cast this spell using a slot of a higher level, the duration increases to 10 days with a 6th level slot, 30 days with a 7th level slot, 180 days with an 8th level slot, and a year with a 9th level slot. So you're going to spend 1,000 gold pieces. You might want to get more bang out of your buck, per se, if you increase the duration. However, because of this concentration part of this, then if you do use a summon or a conjuration spell or a conjure spell, you're going to be concentrating on that spell for that long, and you won't be casting another concentration spell. Because once you stop concentrating on it, the creatures, for the most part, will go away. So let's look at Summon Celestial. So you call forth a spirit, and it manifests in angelic form. So it's a celestial spirit, but it is a conjuration summon spell. And it's a concentration spell. Again, this also costs 500 gold pieces. So there is that. It lasts an hour, but you can extend the duration of this much, much longer. Now, one of the great things about the Celestial is it has a healing touch once per day, so it can heal things. And it has a radiant bow or a radiant mace attack, which does some damage. The summoned creatures are pretty underwhelming. However, the conjure creatures are not underwhelming. Now, Conjure Celestial, which comes from the basic rules, we look at that spell. This has a verbal and a somatic component, and it has a duration of an hour with concentration. However, the Planar Binding changes that to 24 hours or more, and this does not have a material component. Now, you summon a Celestial of, and we haven't gotten to this spell yet, but we will eventually. So you summon a Celestial challenge rating 4 or lower, and it doesn't say anything about it sticking around after you lose concentration. So if you lose concentration on this spell, it's gone. And if you cast this as a 9th level spell, then you summon a challenge rating of 5 or lower. So let's look at challenge rating 4 Celestials. There's really only a couple. And it depends on the DM. And again, I'm going to go to Sage Advice, and I'm going to point something out for everybody in Sage Advice. So official rulings on how to interpret rules are made here in Sage Advice Compendium. The public statements of the D&D team or anyone else at Wizards of the Coast are not official rulings. They are advice. The tweets of Jeremy Crawford, the game's principal rule designer, are sometimes a preview of rulings that appear here. But just because Jeremy Crawford put something in a tweet doesn't mean that it is a rule interpretation that is official. Only things that appear here are official. Now, if we go to the Conjure, so there is this one right here. When you cast a spell like Conjure Woodland Beings, does the spellcaster or the DM choose the creature that are conjured or conjured? The number of spells in the game let you summon creatures, blah, blah, blah. Some of the spells of this sort specify that the spellcaster chooses the creature type. For example, Find Familiar. Other spells of this sort let the spellcaster choose from among several broad options, and they give the example of challenge ratings. The design intent for options like these is that the spellcaster chooses one of them, and then the DM decides what creature appears that fit the chosen option. For example, if you pick the second option, which is 2 elementals of challenge rating lower, the DM chooses 2 elementals that have a challenge rating 1 or lower. So a spellcaster can certainly express a preference for what creature shows up, but it's up to the DM to determine if they do. So you're going to have to work this out with your DM, but if you cast Conjure Celestials, and which is a challenge rating 4 or lower celestial, in pretty much there's really only one choice, and that's a Quaddle. The Hound Archon is in Planescape. Winged Bull and Winged Lion are both in Mythic Odyssey of Theros, which might not be canon in your game. So let's take a look at the Quaddle, which is a pretty good. It's a challenge rating 4, and it has a bunch of spells that it can use. Bless, Cure, Create Food and Water, Cure Wounds 3 times a day, Lesser Restoration 3 times per day, Sanctuary, Shield, Greater Restoration once a day. I mean, all those are fantastic spells that you would love to have access to. It has True Sight, so it can see invisible creatures. Detect evil and good, detect magic, detect thoughts at will. So, I mean, this thing has a lot of utility to bring it forward. So you could bring it forward with a Conjure Celestial. It's going to last for an hour. And then say you decide to cast Planar Binding at 6th level, and it increases to 10 days. You're going to be concentrating on that for 10 days, but you're going to have that Quaddle there for 10 days. Now, let's say you decide to cast Conjure Celestial at 9th level, and you're going to get a challenge rating 5 Celestial. So let's look at those. And I like the Celestial options because they're pretty awesome. So again, Unicorn is the one that's in the basic rules, and the rest of these may not be canon. Although the Hollyphant is in a book that is within the realms of people owning. So this is a really good creature. Again, it's got a bunch of different spells. It's got 2 times a day. It's got Cure Wounds. It's got once a day a Heal, a Banishment, and a Raise Dead, and a Shape Change, which it turns into a mammoth. But this is the big one right here. Raise Dead and Heal, and Banishment, and Teleport. And it requires no material components to cast Raise Dead or Heal, which normally this one has a big one. So that is a pretty awesome creature. Now, the other one that you can bring forward with the spell is the Unicorn. And the Unicorns, again, they have some pretty good spells. Dispel Evil and Good once a day. Entangle, that's another awesome spell. And then it's got pretty good attacks. It's got this Healing Touch action, and it removes all diseases and neutralizes all poisons. And it can teleport once a day, and it's a legendary creature. That's another thing. Another great, a lot of utility in this creature as well. So, and you could Planar Bind that. Now, you're going to be concentrating on that the whole time. So I would use this not with the summon spells, but I would use it with the conjure spells, because you're going to get pretty good options out of this. There are a number of other options that happen with this, like Conjure Elemental and Conjure Fae. The Conjure Fae will you choose a Fae, let's see here, of a certain CR. I am not sure why a Tyrannosaurus Rex is here, because that's a beast. That doesn't seem right to me. But you summon a Fae creature of challenge rating 6 or lower, or a Fae spirit that takes the form of the challenge rating. So again, this is a conjure spell, so it fits within this sage advice. But if we take a look at Fae creatures of challenge rating 6 or lower, and this is a 6th level spell, challenge rating 6 is pretty awesome. So let's say 6. Let's say we want to pick a challenge rating 6 Fae. What are we going to get? So we've got I mean, there's a hag. That's basically what it is. Not awesome. It's got fog cloud and disguise self. We're looking for some. Let's say we choose a challenge rating of 5. Fey. Let's filter that out. So we've got green hag, and that's basically it. And so let's say we take a 4. Some of these creatures are actually pretty awesome. If you just kind of look through all of these, an Hobgoblin Devastator, I'm not sure why but that's there. A Yelf Hound. Some of these are evil too, so you have to be kind of careful with what you're playing with. But then Planar Binding can extend the duration of these. Again, it's going to cost you 1,000 gold, and you are going to have to concentrate. Now, there may be creatures that are just in existence, and we're going to talk about a different spell that comes at a level later called Planar Ally that you may be able to use this spell on when they show up. And that one is not concentration. Or if the creature already exists, you could get them into this magic circle, and then, or you could somehow get them unconscious for an hour, and then you could cast this spell on them and get control of them. All right, that's what I got for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.